Welcome to AABLI Board Talks, where we're pioneering change.
Hi, welcome to my home. It's quite possible that this video is reaching you in your home as well, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and here in Los Angeles, many of us are being asked to work and to live from home. My name is Karen Blackwell, and I'm the CEO for Sage Alms, which houses the brands Canda Chocolates and Do Burst. But during this pandemic, that has not been my most important role. My most important role has been that of service as a board member. Being a board member during a pandemic has given me the opportunity to stretch myself in ways that I hadn't thought before. It's had me asking questions that I need to know the answers to, that we all need to know the answers to. First thing is, I actually said to myself as a board member, what is my primary role? What should I be doing during this pandemic? And I went and I consulted my book for board of directors with one of the organizations that I sit on the board for, with Social Justice Learning Institute. And guess what? Not that this binder isn't complete, but it's not in here. The reason why it's not in here is because no organization was prepared for a pandemic. We all know that as board members, our primary responsibility is fiduciary and legal. But beyond that, how do you show up during a pandemic? Those are the questions that I had to ask myself. And I wanted to make sure of two things, right? I wanted to make sure that the organization was operating safely for the staff, safely for the executive director, and safely for the people that we serve. And then secondly, I wanted to ensure that we were securing perpetuity for the organization. How do we ensure that these organizations live on? I'm sure you've talked to many of your peers and you've heard many different stories. I've heard of people having to lay people off. I've heard of organizations not getting the loans that they were promised. I've heard the government pulling back money, and that's just this year. What's going to happen next year? So what are some things that I can do, that we can do, to ensure that our organizations stay in perpetuity? So I made a list of 3 things. I literally threw the book out, so to speak, and I said, what are 3 simple things that we can do to ensure that our organizations are operating safely and that they have perpetuity? First, be a champion. Be a cheerleader. No one can speak for your organization better than you can. But here's the catch now. The catch is you're not just speaking about the organization as it was. Now you've got to speak about how the organization is handling the pandemic. What are they doing today? How have they changed on a dime to be able to serve the community? So are they doing things virtually? How are they still reaching their constituents? You need to be able to know that information and speak it and share it with everyone that you know. So it's important that you read everything that's going on with the organization, that you have had a board meeting during this time to understand everything that's going on, and that you've reached out to your executive director. You need to be a part of the heartbeat of the organization. You need to know what's going on so that you can share it with others. Because when I go to ask somebody else for $5, $10, $15, or $100 or $1,000 or more, then I need to be able to speak. Well, wait a minute. We're not just any organization. We're actually taking these monies to beef up our virtual, technology to make sure that we can serve these students. And we're giving them laptops and we're giving them cell phones to ensure that they can log on to the calls and still do their studies. And we've logged our studies. And here's the data that shows that 90% of students are still checking in. That's the type of information that I need to be able to speak about as a board member for this organization. That's how you cheerlead. You read up on your resources, you share, and you control the narrative. So with that, you also make sure that you're forwarding things if you have an account. Not everybody does, but if you have an account on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere that you can share something, whether, it could be just an email, but any email that you get from the organization or anything you see on LinkedIn or social media can be re-forwarded and shared with others. Are we doing that? Are we making the noise so loud that people can't ignore us? This is the time to cheerlead for your organizations. Bring all those connections, bring all those opportunities, and bring that fun. I'll share an anecdotal story, and it comes in with point number 2, being a helpmate. And being a helpmate is normally a word that you use when you're talking about a spouse. But during a pandemic, the executive director and the staff needs its board members to be helpmates. They need partners, people that are in lockstep with what they're doing. You need to check on your executive director. You need to check on your staff. You need to make sure that they have the things that they need. And then, if you can, volunteer. I have been blessed with the opportunity to volunteer with the staff on Friday to hand out food. And while it's not something that everybody can do, and while it's really hard to maintain our social distancing standards during that time, it is something that I needed to do. I needed to see all that was going on with the organization as well as the community. I actually needed to go out there and see, did our community have on masks? I heard many different things about the Black and Brown community not wearing masks, not wanting to live. But when I went out to ensure that families, 225 to 300 of them, got packed produce bags, every person that came to the door had on a mask. When organizations from domestic violence shelters or senior citizen homes came to pick up food, they had on masks. And guess what? If they didn't, we gave them a mask or we gave them gloves. So I was able to see firsthand that we were actually helping the community and that the community wants to survive and thrive. I can speak on that. I can't stop speaking on it. And then at the same time, I get to volunteer. I get to be an extra hand. I get to be an extra person that can speak on behalf of the organization. And it has been an honor. And the most recent thing we did, we had a little bit of fun. We made a video doing one of these dance challenges. And we're hoping that the dance challenge actually gets found and gets put all over social media so that we can use that to raise money for the organization. But that being said, all that comes back to being a helpmate. I went in and said, how can I help? I actually texted the executive director and I said, put me in, coach. It's just one of my funny statements, but I literally said, put me in and don't treat me like anybody different. So I come and I lift those boxes and I work with a team that I consider to be heroes that delivers food to other heroes. And it is amazing. And I can use it in so many different places. But while I'm there, I make sure that we have some fun. So whether I can bring smoothies, whether I've been handing out masks or supplies or anything that I can get my hands on, I bring it to the organization just to say, I am here to support you. You guys work hard, really, really, really hard. And, tell me how I can help you. That's what I show up to do. And if there's any other skills that you have outside of volunteering, it could be marketing, it could be editing, it could be anything that you could do. Anyone in the organization right now has got to be stretched. Everyone is working at maximum capacity. So if there's something that you can do to take a little bit of that weight off their shoulder, go ahead and do it. Be that helpmate to the organization. And the last one is to be flexible. I can't tell you how things work as a domino effect, right? So as much as the executive director may want to get you an email for approval with a week to read through all the materials, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So everything is delayed, whether it's tax reports, whether it's an audit, whatever it is, everything is delayed. Everybody is stretched. I will tell you what everybody is not doing, and that's sitting around twiddling their thumbs. They're not sitting around not getting work done. So trust in your organization. And when they send you an email, read it and respond. Read it, review, respond. Be available. Again, be flexible. And be ready to get on to that virtual meeting, that Zoom meeting. And if you haven't had a board meeting, call a board meeting. Ask for one. You set up the Zoom meeting, depending on how large your organization is. Anything that you can do to help, anything. And be sure to respond. Look out for those emails and respond as soon as possible. And let your executive director know, hey, if you need me, here's my text, here's my cell phone number as well. Anything that you can do. So just to recap, you can do 3 things as a board member. You can be a champion, you can be a cheerleader. That means that you can go out and speak about the organization with firsthand knowledge. You know what your organization is doing during a pandemic, and you can share that with the world to continue the efforts to bring money into your organization and to ensure the perpetuity. Secondly, you can be a helpmate. You can be a partner. There is typically a line between an executive director and board members that has been established. But during a pandemic, sometimes you just got to roll up your sleeves and become that partner, seeing that person as an equal, and come and get your hands dirty and do everything that you can to help. And if you can't volunteer in person, you can volunteer your time virtually. You can help with marketing, communications, or any other skills. And above all else, make sure that you're checking on the executive director and the staff. This time takes a toll on everyone. And then number 3, lastly, be flexible. Answer those emails, respond. Don't put so much pressure on your executive director to get things to you in a timely manner, because believe me, I'm guessing that they probably did. So those are my 3 things for ensuring that the operation of the organization is done safely and to secure perpetuity for the organization. And it's my honor to do these things, to ask you to be a champion, to be a helpmate, and to be flexible. I went through the African American Board Leadership Institute as class 15, and we named ourselves The Marathon Continues. And yes, there's a connection to Nipsey Hussle, but there's also a message there. And that is that our service and servitude will go on and on and on. So this is a call out to every member who has ever gone through the African American Board Leadership Institute, with a specific call out to class 15, because we said that the marathon will continue. So I'm also asking you to make a donation to the African American Board Leadership Institute of any size that you can afford, to help ensure that this organization goes on in perpetuity, so that many of us can continue to learn the things that I've shared with you, and then we can share them with others. We need the African American Board Leadership Institute in our lives. So if you can make that donation, we'd all greatly appreciate it, and we'd secure the future for AABLI. Thank you.